Hey guys, it's Thorn. Happy solstice. Coming at you a couple days after the fact. But nonetheless, I actually have to work this week because publishing never stops. And we're an international organization. So anyway, half of our employees are in India and whatever. So anyway, I'm at work right now. Actually, I'm in my car, bracing myself to go into work. There's hardly going to be anybody there, so I expect it'll be a really easy day. Sometimes I do my Temple of Witchcraft homework, like at my desk. That's fine. Anyway, I wanted to say hello and check in. I had the opportunity last night to kind of flip through some of my old books of shadows and journals, and this time of year is kind of a mixed bag emotionally. Like, I don't particularly care for Christmas. I never have. Just because I come from a really small family and I like seeing my parents. Like, I'm close to my parents. But I don't necessarily have a lot of extended family that I like. It's never been this giant kind of holiday event like you see in movies. And being super introverted, like, family gatherings really freak me out generally anyway. So I have a half brother and sister who live in the area, and I will go see them, and they've got kiddos, and like, it's nice going through those things and hanging out with them, but I'm not particularly close to extended family, and like, kind of the commercialism that surrounds the holiday. And it's not that I love presents, okay, and I really like getting presents and making presents for people I love, but I really hate debt, and I really hate the way people handle money. And I feel like this time of year, people just sort of give themselves an excuse to drive into debt. And anyway, like, I try to be pretty careful with money. Like, we don't have credit cards. We don't engage with that kind of stuff. And so, like, this time of year just feels like the antithesis of what I believe in sometimes, just financially. But anyway, so there's that component of, like, feeling sort of weird about Christmas. And you know what? Like, most pagans are converts, and I know we talk about Yule and the winter solstice being different holidays, but I'm not super persuaded that they are, guys, because functionally Christmas is very secular. It's this cultural holiday. I mean, my family isn't Christian, okay, but we always celebrated Christmas because it's what you did, and you have a magic tree and a magic man comes down the chimney, and there's gift giving and cookies, and you call it a day, okay? There was never any church involved or conversation about Jesus, right? It's why the evangelicals are so angry. And to me, like, solstice was just a matter of shifting all the magic shit a couple days forward. And that imbued it with an additional layer of meaning, which Christmas didn't previously have, which I appreciate. But, like, in terms of what you actually do, moving from Christmas to Yule is so minimal, like, culturally, that they kind of register as the same holiday in my, like, emotional brain. So I don't know. There's that. But I really enjoy the ritual this time of year. Like, I enjoy our winter solstice ritual, and I enjoy the work I do with my coven, and I can look through previous years in my books, and I'm always really happy this time of year. Like, I'm always really excited to see people, and I bake things, and it's really fun, wrapping gifts for people. And we do this thing where we'll have circle, and then afterwards we swap gifts. And that's really cool. Like, it's cool to have that kind of relationship with people who actually know you, just because, like, that doesn't really happen with family a lot of the time. So anyway, I also like the motivation that I feel this time of year. I'm super into New Year's resolutions. That's not a cool thing to say, right? But this time of year makes, I feel really energized. I feel really motivated. I'm ready to make a plan for the coming year, and I'm really, really good at following through with those plans. So to me, it's kind of like, what cool things am I going to accomplish this year? Let me make a list. And it feels good because I know I'm going to be successful. So this year I've decided that my goals are going to be, they're kind of cliche and it's kind of mundane. But I really want to focus on my health this year. The number one American New Year's resolution is I'm going to lose weight. And then the number 2 resolution is I'm going to go to a gym. I was reading an article about this recently. And those are my goals. Okay. But it's because thinking about it kind of elementally, if we want to get woo about it, which of course we do because we're witches. A lot of it has to do with my out of touchness with earth and the physical, the body. I'm very trapped in my head. When I was struggling with mental illness and in therapy and kind of dealing with all of that stuff, one of my problems was dissociating, having anxiety about my body and kind of being anxious around people, and then just with the self-injury and the depression, and everything was about being trapped in my head. And the consequences of that were that I either wouldn't eat at all, or I would eat inappropriately just because honestly, I know this sounds bizarre to people who haven't had this experience, but there's a big portion of my life where sadness, hunger, anxiety, all of these things felt the same to me. It was very difficult to distinguish between between all of my emotions. Oh God, this sun is whatever. Anyway, I've always had this really kind of tempestuous relationship with my body. And one of the things that really helped me deal with that was getting involved in sports. I never thought I could do sports growing up because I was always fat and I was always bullied. And we teach fat kids that sports aren't for them. And that's really ridiculous. And I got a little bit older and had some agency, and I started doing martial arts, and I was really shocked to find that I liked sports. I did roller derby, I started running, I started practicing HEMA, kind of this revelation that I actually really enjoyed doing things with my body. It was a big deal. But anyway, in the last couple of years, I've lost touch with that for all kinds of reasons. Largely because, sorry, there's just no way to avoid the sun. We're just going to be in the sun together. You can see the parking lot. Ooh, look, nobody's here, just me. I'm a dedicated office robot. Anyway, no, I'm not. So for the last couple of years, I've had a lot of really major life changes that have knocked me off of the routines that I spent so long building. I got married, I moved, I started a new job. I did all of these giant things within the span of a year. I adopted another cat, and I don't know, I started writing more and having to spend more time online, and I also had some traumatic experiences surrounding HEMA, through tournament, kind of the tournament circuit, and not traumatic because HEMA is necessarily traumatic by itself, but because I was dealing with some things, and competing in martial arts has this way of forcing you to look at things about yourself and your thinking, and those things were happening to me, and I was oh God, look at all this unaddressed garbage I have to work through. Sweet. So I kind of needed a break from that scene, and anyway, so this is the year I've decided that I get back in touch with my body. So I signed back up at my old gym, obviously in a different city, but it's a chain because that's what happens. And I got in touch with a chiropractor. I used to go to a chiropractor pretty regularly. I'm talking to my working partner. We used to do circle Saturday nights, and then Sunday morning we would get up and we would run. So a couple times a month, he and I would run, and we'd do 6 miles, 5 miles, like somewhere in there. I was running half marathons at the time. He was a trail runner. Like we would go and like invoke the mighty ones, and then we'd get swole the next morning. And I really want to get back into that habit. So yeah, like I'm tracking my eating, not necessarily because I'm gonna like be on a restrictive diet or whatever, but because I'm so out of touch with myself, I tend to eat mindlessly. And because like my job is really boring, guys. Like I like my job in principle, but if you work in a cube, like it's just boring. And when I'm bored, I eat because it's an excuse to not be at my desk. And anyway, like all that stuff adds up over the years. Teaching was a nightmare because, you know, you're up at 5 a.m. The first class starts at 7. So I'm having breakfast at like 5:30, 6 in the morning. And then my like half hour lunch break was, 20-minute lunch break was at like 10 o'clock. So I would eat my lunch then. And then like my planning period wasn't until third or fourth block towards the end of the day. So like 3:15 would roll around and I would just be famished, like fucking dying. And I'd get home and I'd kind of inhale whatever. And then I'd be hungry again at 7 or 8. So like teaching was a nightmare on my body, plus just like the stress. So anyway, my New Year's goals are about figuring all that shit out and kind of building some better routines. Both of my parents are diabetic, and I would really like to not have to deal with the stuff that they have to deal with when I get older. So anyway, what are your New Year's goals? Every year my goals have been like magical, or like I'm gonna write 4 books, or like something ridiculous. Last year I gave up alcohol, which mostly worked. Actually, I think what happened is my taste in alcohol just became more expensive, because like I stopped drinking, and then when I would drink, I was allowed to drink at I was allowed to like have a nice glass of wine at like a fine restaurant if we were celebrating something. So like what ended up happening is that my palate became a lot more refined, and now I just like can't drink swill, which means that like everything is just more expensive, mostly. But anyway, this year I didn't want a brain goal. I figured a brain goal would just push me even further away from my body. So this year is all about Earth. Anyway, tell me what your thoughts are for the upcoming year. I know a lot of you are doing depth years, or like whatever. Like I want to know. Okay, I'm gonna go to work now.